I am harvesting baskets full of cherries, and guess what? No pesticides, herbicides, not even a net in order to get fruit like this. This is a dwarf cherry tree I have just off the side of my house. I installed it 4, maybe 5 years ago maximum. It's already reached its full size, which is about somewhere between 10 and 12 feet, and it's producing abundantly. I don't use a net in order to keep my cherries bird safe. I don't use any pesticides to keep bugs off of them, and I don't use any herbicides around the base of the tree. Instead, I use a series of steps and management practices in order to get a tree full of cherries without having to worry about anybody else taking them. So let's go through step by step what I do. The first thing that I do is I created a guild. All right, so it's a little bit hard to see because of the glare of the sun. It's a bright day today. But underneath the cherry tree, I have a few guild plant members. I have blueberries. I also have forsythia. There's a few weeds that have grown in real life. I haven't cleaned it up. But I also had originally, when the tree first started out and was much smaller, it was interplanted with lemon balm and Shasta daisies. And I also had comfrey under here. Unfortunately, it accidentally got run over when my husband did the lawn mowing, and those things need to be replaced. That guild system does all sorts of things to support the tree. Just like in nature, you don't see any trees with vacant land underneath it. It's always filled in, and typically nature is going to fill that in with plants that are helpers. So in the description, I'll put the guild members. You can also find recipes for pretty much most commonly grown fruit trees in my book, The Sustainable Homestead. I list all of the guild members that I use and have found to be successful. Now, the other thing that I do is I follow the steps according to Michael Phillips' book, which is the Holistic Orchard. In the Holistic Orchard, he talks about basically from bud set to petal drop to setting fruit, all of the different things that you can do to spray your tree with beneficial microbes, molasses, and a few other ingredients I don't want to give away because it's not my recipe, so check out that book. But I do that weekly, and what it's doing is fortifying the immune system of the tree. And then in doing so, the tree is healthier, thus it can fight off pests better. So we're ensuring it is well equipped with all of the nutrients and minerals and nutritions that it might not be getting from the soil or from your guild members. That's just sort of like its daily vitamin, right? So the other thing that I do, in addition to that, is at fruit set, according to the book, you can see I've got some dust on here. One of those sprays calls for coating the tree with its sunscreen, which is kaolin clay, powdered kaolin clay. And what that does is it creates a sunscreen layer that helps the leaves. It helps to keep the fruit from burning and scorching, but also birds hate it. So by the time you start spraying this with completely natural, helpful ingredients, and you put the kaolin clay in that mix, birds hate it, deer want nothing to do with it. So now we don't need a net. I've tried the net before I started using this spray mix. It was a totally different story. The birds found their way under the net. This actually works much better for me. This here is a sticky trap. We hang this in New Jersey when there are flowers on the tree, and this is going to help with codling moth, and it might also help with apple maggot. I hang this on my orchard trees all throughout the property. It doesn't matter if it's apples, pear, cherry, and so forth. Stephan, you're probably familiar with Stephan from his permaculture channel. Go check that out. He has a lot of great information on his permaculture practices for his orchard, and he helps a lot to discuss timing. So one of the things I do is I hang the sticky trap. You can see how absolutely loaded the tree is with cherries. There's a little bit of that clay on there that'll wash off post picking. Totally pest-free fruit, all grown organically. That kaolin clay will wash off afterwards. Birds are not your enemy. Instead, what they do is they come into your fruiting trees and they eat insects that often infect them. With the kaolin clay, they don't bother with the fruit. They go after the insects instead. I've hung dozens of birdhouses around my property to invite sparrows, bluebirds, wrens, all kinds of wild birds here. Plus, we have our guinea fowl, ducks, and geese. Altogether, these work to keep pest pressure down, which greatly increases our yields on our fruit trees. Pesticide-free, herbicide-free. All it took was a few management steps. And what I really love about this approach is, one, yes, it fits into our permaculture farm portfolio, but also I don't feel so reactive. I'm not waiting for a pest or disease to show up and then try to scramble to fix it. Instead, I'm fortifying the tree with what it needs in the beginning. It's more of a preventative approach and integrated management system to make sure we head off issues before they start. Thanks for watching.